You don't know what it's like. You've always been good. Okay, so a few years back, Maddison and I were coaching an 18 and under boys volleyball club team. And I'll never forget one of the conversations I had with one of our players during a tournament. The player was upset about playing time, and he told me, "You don't know what it's like. You've always been good." It kind of caught me off guard at the time, and I didn't really know how to respond. There were so many things that I wanted this player to understand and so many ways to go about doing it. But what I really wanted to tell him was this story. This is a story that not many people know. This is a story about a shy, introverted, undersized kid and his quest to change his stars.
A man can change his stars. And I won't spend the rest of my life as nothing.
Each year on the week of the 4th of July, the biggest tournament of the year for any volleyball player under the age of 18 takes place. The Junior Olympics, or JOs. Actually, I think now it's called the Junior Nationals, but the atmosphere of this event is absolutely thrilling for a kid. Hundreds, if not thousands of teams from across the nation, including Puerto Rico, come together to compete to see who is the best of the best. And if you happen to be a team from Hawaii, this is the only tournament that you get to play in all year. So this was it. This was the granddaddy of them all. Now, each and every year, for 7 years in a row, a young team from Hawaii came to this tournament and took home either a bronze, silver, or gold medal. This team was super special. They had both the Shoji brothers, Erik and Kawika.
And that's all down to the libero, Erik Shoji.
Who both went to the 2016 Olympics and both are going to the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. They had the #1 recruit of their class, Spencer McLachlin.
Number 14, a 6'7" senior, Spencer McLachlin.
They had Will Ehrman, who later went on to UCSD and played outside hitter there. They had Jordan Inafuku, who played libero at Stanford. Kory Matsukado, who played libero at Long Beach. And then there was this kid. He couldn't pass or hit. He never learned. Passing never made any sense, and he had this weird hitch in his arm swing, which left him only the position of setter. Every July, from ages 11-15, their team traveled to JOs, and every July he rode the pine, coming in maybe as a serving sub for one of the middle blockers, if they were up big. He was the backup to the backup setter, so occasionally he got to set a few balls in the back row. In fact, after their team won their first gold medal against the undefeated Puerto Ricans, their coach actually came up to him and apologized for not putting him in to serve. Stakes were too high, too risky, but it was okay. He strangely understood. Each time he set foot onto the court, he knew deep down in his heart that he had no business being there with the others. He was afraid to make an error, afraid to disappoint his friends, afraid to embarrass himself. It hurt him deeply, but he never once complained to the coaches because he knew that the others were more than legitimately better than him. It was hard for him to watch his friends have this wonderful time on the court while he was just a mere spectator. Anyone who has spent enough time on the bench knows the pain that I'm talking about. It was really tough, and to make things even tougher, his little brother Maddison was the star of his team. It was doubly demoralizing. So after that 5th summer in a row of sitting on the bench, he had finally had enough, and he made a decision. He was going to shock the world. He was going to win that starting spot, and he was going to play in college. He didn't tell anyone what his plan or his mission was. He just did it. And the first thing he did was go to the weight room every single day after school. He wasn't a natural. When he was born, he was so duck-footed that they had to put him in braces to put his feet straight. And they're still not straight. He was never the quickest, never had the fastest reflexes, couldn't jump high whatsoever, terrible hip flexibility. We won't even talk about cardio.
20 seconds. Finish.
His coordination was decent in other sports, but his mechanics for volleyball were just utterly tragic. And so it began. He made mini goals and did everything in his power to achieve them. He wanted to learn how to jump set, especially to the outside. So he went into the gym and got extra reps with his mom before school. He He wanted to learn how to jump like the guys he saw playing volleyball on TV. So he started lifting legs and doing plyos and increased his vert by I don't know how much, and ended up jumping just under 40 by his junior year. In under a year, he went from third string setter to starting setter on his club team. In just under 3 months, he did the impossible and was one of 2 freshmen to make the varsity volleyball team, and won the starting setting spot there as well that year. All of that hard work coming to a pinnacle during his senior year, accepting a scholarship to play Division I volleyball at USC.
Well, how about the setter? Number 4, Riley McKibbin. This guy is considered by many the #1 setting recruit for the class of 2007. He USC on a scholarship for volleyball.
He then became captain of the USC men's volleyball team as a sophomore, and led his team all the way to the NCAA finals that year.
USC rallies after losing game 1. They take 3 straight and they knock out the defending champs.
2 years later, he became a first-team All-American and then shipped off to play in Italy's A1 Super League.
McKibbin il primo tempo di Henry Greusa, se volete fate anche 10 su 10.
This is my story, and that little kid was me. I think the reason I remember this story so well is because how emotional the journey was for me. When things get really tough, I'll remind myself that determination and true to your heart hard work does pay off. My hope for this video is that if you are a player like I once was and you find yourself spending too much time on the bench or lacking any confidence whatsoever when you step onto the court, just know that your fate is not yet written. Throw all of your faith into hard work. Set a clear direction and mini goals and do everything in your power to check them all off your list. And things can drastically change with a simple decision.
He wanted you to know that he changed his styles after all.